Good afternoon, Ridley College, and welcome to the 34th Annual Literary Awards. Today we will recognize excellence in our student writers, both in academic and co-curricular contexts. Before we proceed with the prize giving, however, we are excited to welcome a special guest author, Mr. Joe Thomas, to speak to all of our senior school writers and readers. Joe is an acclaimed author of a quartet of novels set in a contemporary Sao Paulo, Brazil, that blend social realism with history in the playfully exciting genre of crime fiction. His writing has been called fresh, stylish, dark, and layered, and his novels have variously been described as brilliant by the Times UK, having feverish energy by The Guardian, wonderfully vivid by Mail on Sunday in the UK, and sophisticated and dizzying by GQ magazine. Joe has a doctorate and a fellowship at Royal Holloway College in London, UK, for fiction writing, and has been a lecturer there and teacher at other independent schools around the world. Welcome, Joe, to Ridley College, and thank you for joining us today to speak to our students about writing, and particularly about the topic of shaping personal experience into story.
So thank you, Sean, Mr. Mugen, for that incredibly generous introduction, and it's very nice to be here to share with you some of my experiences as a published author. I'm really thrilled, and it's a real privilege, I must admit. I'm about to publish in June my fifth novel. It's called Brazilian Psycho, and it's the final part of a quartet of novels set in Sao Paulo, where I lived from between around 2001-2 until about 2011-12. The novels are a quartet, a complete quartet that intersect with each other, but are also standalone works of crime fiction, effectively. The first three, Paradise City, Gringa, and Playboy, run chronologically 2012, 2014, and 2016. Brazilian Psycho both introduces by beginning in 2003 and completes the quartet, finishing in 2019. The idea of this novel is that it is a big novel that pulls together all the themes and threads of the other three texts. The idea at its heart really is to try to look at and think about how Brazil as a country, through the prism of Sao Paulo, elected a left-wing government with Lula, and then 16 years later, Bolsonaro, the populist right leader, is now in charge, as many of you will know, and handling this period in Brazil disastrously. So I was trying to think about how to use real life crime to examine how those sorts of changes politically can happen. It's a big book. It's 500 pages. It is definitely the most that I've ever kind of attempted in terms of ambition and time, and it looks great. I'm very lucky with my publisher. Arcadia are a small, independent, fairly prestigious imprint. They're run by a man who I have a tremendous amount of respect and affection for, and they have been generally loyal, allowing me to experiment and to try different forms and different ideas. I've worked with a couple of editors there, one specifically for the Brazilian books, and one for Bent, who was a non-fiction editor too. So that was an interesting experience, very interesting experience. My agent, who I came across before that, is a great supporter and a very important part of any writer's life. Not only do they negotiate the contracts, but they also are first readers for you, and they're your kind of first defender as well. Many writers, and I know some myself, who are at bigger publishing houses, who receive possibly more in the way of advances, more in their contracts, have struggled because they're within this huge machine. Arcadia is a small, as I say, publisher working mainly with associates, but it means that I'm consulted on pretty much everything. Sometimes I know a bit too much information, I think, but there is a sense that there is a kind of loyalty, an ability to experiment, and a desire to kind of create a lasting body of work. As I mentioned, I spent some time in Sao Paulo, how I know Mr. Mugen, Sean. And my personal experience in terms of the crime novels is interesting because, of course, I wasn't a detective. I wasn't a criminal, particularly. I wasn't mixing with those kinds of people either. I did know an ex-cop, and I did have some interesting characters who lived in my building. So in terms of the personal experience, it was more about creating the place, understanding how to write about a city, how to bring it to life. Using a crime narrative is an interesting one to explore a city, explore a place, because you have access to all sorts of different levels of that society. The detective can access the rich, the elite, the poor, the criminal, etc. So there was a kind of very attractive idea for that. What happened originally was I tried to write a novel, what I was considered to be the great Sao Paulo novel written in English, called Sao Paulo, and I felt like the way to create that was to have a huge number of voices, a huge variety of voices. I think I had something like 11, and lots of different forms, lots of different ways of communicating. So there'd be first person, third person. There might have been transcripts of phone conversations. There might have been, I can't remember, notes, etc. Different media. I do use these in the current books, but in a different way. And my agent wasn't able to sell that to a publisher. It didn't work out, but I understood from that experience that the detective thread was the one that had the most interest for me, partly because of that a sense of access and that ability to analyze the political element of a city through crime, but also because it allowed me to push further away, allowed me further distance. I mentioned bent. I'm going to point out that there's behind my right shoulder, I can't point, is a photograph in which you can see my granddad, in fact, swimming in the sea in his policeman's helmet. I urge you to look at this, I think, because of the nature of it. I'm interested in where fact and fiction meet, how you can develop fictional narratives around real events, and how that can help us to understand better not just the society in which that's based, but also in how these changes and movements go on from there today. My piece of advice for any writers is two things really. Firstly, persistence. You need to do this for the right reasons and do it day in, day out. And secondly, simplicity and clarity. Achieving clarity through simplicity is my kind of key mantra to all student writers. Keep it simple, make sure it's clear, and put the story first. Everything in service to the story. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today as we recognize exceptional writing in our student community. And thank you for giving us a small window into the world of writing, publishing, and finding the stories that are always layered around our experience, our cultural moment, and our imagination. On to the awards.
The Take Notice Prize for Best Opinion Piece. This is awarded to a student who thoughtfully engages their peers in a Tiger Post opinion article. This year, our recipient is Muriel Wenner for her article on social activism in the fall 2020 Tiger Post issue. Congratulations, Muriel. The Terence Cronin Prize for Best News Story. This is awarded to a student who publishes a news story in the Tiger Post demonstrating thought and vigor. This year's recipient is Sakra Telfer for her article in the winter 2021 issue on gender inequality. Congratulations, Sakra. The Matt Davis Memorial Prize for the editors of the Tiger Post. This is awarded to the students who design and copy edit the Tiger Post, bringing the amazing work of our writers to life. This year, I'd like to award it to our designers, Nathan and Kai, and our copy editors, Gina, Abby, Muriel, and Ashley. Congratulations to you six. The Tiger Post Prize for Best Ridley Life Feature. This is awarded to a student who thoughtfully engages their readers in a Tiger Post feature on life at Ridley. This year, I'd like to award this to Ashley Zhu for her article in the fall 2020 issue that shared tips for her fellow Tigers on preparing for the university application process. Congratulations, Ashley.
The following students competed at the whole school level for public speaking: Catherine He, Mahmoud Rahwen, Sylvia Wang, Eugenia Alonso Diaz Ordez, Abir Hussein. Congratulations.
Congratulations to the winner of the junior category for the public speaking competition, Adeze Okafo. Congratulations, Ada. Very well deserved. Great job.
The Tony Kwok Award for Public Speaking is awarded to the student who wins in the English Language Learner category. This year's winner is Marcus Kwan Ho Chang for his speech about how his ping pong coach has been an inspiration to him. The Honorable Mr. Justice A. Courtney Kingstone Memorial Prize for Public Speaking Senior Second is awarded to the student in grade 11 or 12 who wins second place in their category. This year's winner is Abigail Sullivan for her speech exploring the importance of counterculture.
The Dr. W.H. Merritt Memorial Prize for Public Speaking is awarded to the grade 11 or 12 student who wins first place in the public speaking contest. This year, the award goes to Kishi Femi Johnson.
This year, the prize for debating in the senior school goes to Tony Wu.
What underlines that? What underlines that?
The IO Award goes to the student in IB2 English who showed proficiency in his or her independent oral. This year's winner is Jenny Zhou, with honorable mentions to Abigail Davidson and Ashley Zhu.
The Colin G. Brzezinski Prize for Thought-Provoking Writing is awarded to the student whose writing is thought-provoking in its use of form, argument, or style. This year's winner is Catherine He for her work with the public speaking competition.
The Julian Street Memorial Prize for Prose is awarded to the student whose prose demonstrates excellence in style and in thought. This year, the student who is receiving this prize wrote an extended essay on the work of Jimi Hendrix and Bob Dylan and their impact on the Vietnam War. This award goes to Kira Blue.
The Virginia Vickers Essay Award is awarded to the student who demonstrates excellent command of the essay form. This year's winner is Abigail Sullivan for her excellent work in her extended essay exploring feminist stagings of Carol Churchill's play Top Girls.
The Gerald S. Shantz Prize for Poetry is awarded to the student or students whose writing demonstrates excellent command of the poetic form. This year's recipient is Marie Aumulin for her poetry anthology. Congratulations. The Richard B. Wright Prize for Fiction is awarded to the student or students whose fiction demonstrates excellent use of style and attention to audience. This year's recipient is Wyatt DeVillis for his short story submission. Congratulations.
Congratulations to all the winners today, and we thank all of the students and faculty for joining us in this very special Literary Awards ceremony. We thank you again, Joe Thomas, for joining us today. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
The Anthropocene is a proposed geological epoch dating from the commencement of significant
I like English cookery, English beer, French red wine, Spanish white wine, Indian tea, strong tobacco, coal fire, candlelight, and comfortable chairs. Go on. I dislike big towns, noise, the motor car, the radio, tinned food, and central heating.
Interestingly,
And modern furniture.
quite.